All right, welcome back in here to Live Now from Fox. I am Andy Mack. It feels like Christmas in September for Apple users as they launched new iPhones, Apple Watches, and AirPods on Tuesday. They'll hit the store and shelves and ship to homes on September the 19th. For more on this, let's go out to Fox Business on what this Apple event was all about.
Apple's biggest redesign in 5 years. Part of its new iPhone 17 lineup, including the thinnest iPhone ever introduced.
We're taking the biggest leap ever for iPhone.
The new iPhone Air, less than 1/4 of an inch thick, and it'll come with lower battery life and only one camera on the back. But it's the first time that we've seen a new iPhone design since the iPhone Mini back in 2020. Now, for those that want longer batteries and upgraded cameras, the new iPhone Pro models will now come with 8x zoom and 48 megapixels for extra clear pictures. Prices are also going up for the entire iPhone lineup for the first time in 7 years by $100 on the starting price. The iPhone Air will cost $1,000 to start. Pro models will start at $1,100. Also remember that Apple sold more iPhones this spring, with consumers rushing in to buy their Apple devices ahead of tariffs and also fears of higher prices. Apple also introduced its next generation AirPod Pro earbuds. Apple's higher-end headset can now read hand gestures and live translate conversations that you have in foreign languages.
I'll let the strategy team know to prepare that immediately.
And to round it all off, Apple also introduced a new watch series. The Series 11 will now monitor for hypertension and give you sleep scores, as well as monitor for sleep apnea. Now, all of these new Apple devices will ship on September 19th. In New York, Susan Lee, Fox Business.
All right, thank you so much. And this was the tweet from the CEO, Tim Cook, saying days like today are some of the most exciting moments at Apple. Let's be joined right now by ZNet senior reporter Sabrina Ortiz. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. And this is an exciting day just to see what the rollout looks like, what some of these devices you can get your hands on. That iPhone Air feels like the kind of star of the show. What did we hear today, Sabrina?
I would definitely say it's the star of the show. Again, Apple going out of their way to actually try a new form factor, get creative, and deliver something they haven't done before is really exciting. I would say another big highlight, believe it or not, is just the fact that the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max are coming in that orange color. It's a really eye-catching color. It was highly in demand, and I think that's a lot of the buzz that I'm hearing.
And it's not just about just the small nature of it, the thin nature of the Air. It's also the durability. How much are they leaning into that?
Oh, yeah. Today, they made it a point to address all of the concerns that people typically have when they hear about the thinner phones. So, for example, with battery, Apple kept touting that it has all-day battery life. Again, only performance tests will be able to determine if that's true, but an all-day battery would be pretty impressive for its form factor. Same thing of durability. They kept trying to emphasize the fact that it's very durable, and as a matter of fact, they were claiming it's the most durable iPhone they've made to date. We'll again have to put it to the test to see.
I know so many people like you and yourself, ZNet, are going to put that to the test. Is this the next step into a flip phone? Because I think a lot of different companies are kind of moving in that direction. Did Apple hint at that at all?
They did not hint at it, but it's a really good point because we've seen other companies, like, for example, Samsung, use that thin phone as almost like a litmus test to see of how well it functions, and then implement that technology into their Fold. The Fold 7 is the thinnest Fold, and again, Fold just means it opens like a, I guess, sandwich in a way, instead of a clamshell design. And it's the thinnest foldable they've made, and it's followed the release of the Edge. So I'm sure that Apple's also taking the same route, trying to see if this works and then implementing it into possibly a Fold themselves.
Yeah, whatever culinary analogy you want to do, hot dog, taco, anything kind of there in that foldable realm. Let's talk about the Apple Watch, because that is very interesting, and the health benefits that come from it, measuring blood pressure, kind of potentially looking at hypertension. How much did they talk about that today?
They did talk about it quite a bit, and it was a highly anticipated and expected feature. Again, one thing Apple has always done really well is lean into that health aspect of their technology, and we just see them doing a bit more of that now. Same thing with the sleep scores. It's just really an emphasis on how to make Apple devices go beyond just, doing the basics, but also helping people reach their wellness goals.
Yeah, that is so very true. I know so many people kind of look to that even as they get older in age to see how the blood pressure works. The AirPods are also very cool, talking about how they can translate now and do that sort of thing. How is that function going to benefit consumers?
Yeah, the real-time translation is really amazing. Apple and a lot of these companies have been leaning into translating in real time because of AI. It's one of the best things that AI could do is its language capability. So I'm sure that the real-time translation in the earbuds will be very impressive. And another really interesting thing with the earbuds was actually the heart rate monitors that are now in the AirPods Pro 3. Again, Apple leaning into that wellness sector and providing a tool that will hopefully help users, right? Because now if you want your heart rate, you could shed your Apple Watch potentially.
Yeah, no, that is so very true. The AirPods have come a long way since they were really first initiated. In terms of storage, in terms of just the power and the RAM on some of these things, the speed of which, is there any increase that people could see in terms of that?
Absolutely. With all of these new phones comes a new chipset, and with these more advanced processors, you should see performance increases across the board, whether that be battery life, whether that be powering those AI features that you use on device and giving them better speed and less latency, whether that be just your camera and powering a lot of these more advanced computational aspects of taking a photo. You should see improvements across the board.
Yeah, that's so very true. I think a lot of people, myself included, are very excited about the camera because that function on the last version was so very impressive. Are there going to be enhancements? There are even more zoom potentially?
Yes, in the Pro, specifically the Pro models, which are the models that if you are a photo aficionado, that's what you should probably be going for. There were a couple of upgrades, including a new telephoto lens that should improve how you take photos and the zoom capability, especially again long distance when you're taking photos.
Yeah, that is so very cool. Is there anything that was rumored, that was out there, that we thought we might see that didn't come to be, that people were hoping for that they didn't get?
Luckily, I will say Apple delivered on a lot of the fronts. We weren't sure if we were going to get the Apple Watch SE, and then we did get a new generation of it. All the rumors basically did come true. What I think some people were hoping were for more robust AI features. Of course, that wasn't the focus of today's event. Typically, this event focuses on the hardware, and Apple did stay true to that. But I do think that in the near horizon, there'll probably be more robust AI features since they were kind of lacking today.
And one of my last questions before I let you go, because we talk about it and so much has been made about how many people were rushing to stores to get Apples and iPhones before the tariffs really went into effect. In terms of the price point of this, were people surprised that it wasn't higher? What did they think of that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, even myself, were closely looking to see if tariffs were going to be a factor. And luckily, it seems like for this at least launch, it's out of mind or out of the price. But again, we'll have to keep seeing what happens in the future.
Yeah, and of course, just the $100 really increase across the board. So it could have been very much more drastic. Sabrina, anything else? Because there's so many interesting facets to this. People, whether you're into technology or you're not, are fascinated by this. Anything we're missing?
I would just say that before you run to the store and go to buy the latest phone, consider why you want to, because usually the release of the latest model also means discounts on the previous models, especially with the holidays rolling around. Black Friday is basically around the corner. So try to measure your pros and your cons. At ZDNet, we have a ton of articles comparing all of the older models to the newer ones to try to help you. But in general, it's always wise to keep an eye out for some discounts.
Did you hear anything from Tim Cook, the CEO, about measuring some of the expectations, knowing a lot of people already bought their most recent iPhone kind of in the first few months of this year? Are there any measured expectations if these sales don't blow them away?
So I think that the closest thing to that is that a lot of carriers will have some really appealing trade-in option opportunities. Even today, during the event, they kind of teased that you'll get a hefty discount, basically covering some of these phones if you trade in. I think it was the iPhone 13 Pro or higher. I think that will be the best compensating for that. That if you did get that phone and you still want to try the newer ones, you'll be able to hopefully, if your carrier allows, again depending on which contract you signed, but generally speaking, trade it in and be able to get one of the newer phones.
All right, an exciting day there at this Apple event, rolling out the iPhones, the Apple Watches, the AirPods, and much more. Sabrina Ortiz with ZDNet, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate your time here on Live Now.
Absolutely.
All right, take care. All right, great conversation there as always, as this was really a big day and they took a leap, they took a swing, and obviously Apple users, Apple enthusiasts are already on board with that. So I'm Andy Mack here on Live Now from Fox. We're back after this.